want to use my president's prerogative to make one additional introduction. My father, who passed away 3 years ago, was 75 when he passed away. And he was a scouter here on Treasure Island in the 1920s. And I'm personally just absolutely delighted that I can have with me and my wife here tonight joining us on this very special 75th anniversary celebration of Treasure Island, the Scout Master of my father's troop, James Bloomer. And I'd appreciate it if you'd give Jim Bloomer, who hasn't been here for 60 years, a nice big rousing round of applause. You will, with me, on the thousands of boys who in the past 75 years have walked and played and enjoyed this island, learning the scouting spirit. And reflect, if you will, on what may have happened to them. 1910 is when scouting started in the United States in Philadelphia, and nationally as well. It started in Philadelphia in our country. And it was 3 years later, 1913, that this camp began. Shortly thereafter, our country was in World War I. Then we went into the glory days of the 1920s, and lots of celebrations, followed by the Great Depression. How many scouters in that era fought for us on the islands of the Pacific and on the shores of Europe and gave their lives for our country? How many scouters here during the 1940s fought for our country in Korea in the 1950s? How many scouters who were here in the 1950s and 60s fought on the battlefields of Vietnam in the 1970s? I wonder how many outstanding electricians and plumbers and carpenters and corporate presidents and doctors and lawyers and army generals and clergymen touched foot on this great beloved island of ours. I'd like to think that those soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines and those doctors and lawyers and teachers and plumbers and carpenters and electricians were men who were special, who were different than most others because they were men of character and because they learned the real spirit of what living is because of the character development they had as a Boy Scout that was enhanced when they were here on Treasure Island. Why are all of us here right now? I think we're here for two very important reasons. The essence of scouting is, number one, it's love of God and duty to God. Love of country and duty to country. And finally, it's accountability for one's own actions. These are the traits, the character qualities that were burned into all of us when we were scouts. And we're here, that's reason number one, I think, why most of us are here. And reason number two is we had a darn good time when we were acquiring all of these wonderful traits. And that's what makes scouting so very special and so enduring in our society. You have a good time learning how to live right. And that's very special. Many of you, obviously, were active in scouting, but some of you are no longer active in scouting today, but you're here because of your love for scouting, and you know what it did for you and for your life. And so I'd like to just leave you, as I conclude, with a challenge. And the challenge is, keep active in scouting. You can be active in two ways: personally involved and with your financial resources when we have the SME program, Scouting is run by volunteers. There's some 6,000 volunteers active in the Philadelphia Council today. There's some 33,000 boys, and yes, now some girls, involved in the scouting program. It's a great movement in Philadelphia, as it has been for 75 years. But we need your help. We need your help as volunteers, and we need your financial resources. It's always the same deal. There was a time when we didn't have that. In the late 70s, there were only about 13,000 boys involved in scouting, 33,000 today. So we've really rejuvenated it. It's a wonderful thing. Enjoy yourself here today for the remainder of our program. Those of you who are courageous and are staying overnight, really have a good time. I understand it's going to be very cold tonight, so you might need your blankets. God bless you all. Nice to have you here. Thank you.
Pleasure to introduce the Council Commissioner of Philadelphia Council, Marv Arkins.
Thanks very much. Bill Scott said I could have 50 minutes, 5-0, but I'm going to take about 2. TI is special to me. In 1939, I camped at campsite T1. That'll take back some of you. I feel like a youngster here with some of the guys, I want to tell you. Right. And it's more special because 3 of my sons worked on their Eagle Trail up here at Treasure Island. I think that's great. One of them's with me here today. Steve, why don't you stand up and show them how wet you are? Where is it? There he is. Incidentally, he's staying active. He's helping on the executive board. George almost took my whole speech away. Honestly, because what he said is just what I was going to say, that we need people to help us. And we need you guys that are not active, or if you're semi-active. We've got a fantastic commissioner staff. I got to put a plug in, right? We've got a really great commissioner staff, those that go out and help the unit leaders to run a kind of a program that should be run. Why do we run a program? Just take a look at today's papers and see what's happening with little kids getting shot. 5 years old, 6 years old, stuck in crossfires with gang members. We had these gangs before, but we've had scouting which has been stronger. And if scouting gets stronger, we can help with this gang program. Because if you all reach back to what Baden Powell said in the beginning, use the natural gang as a patrol. Let's get those patrols into scouting. Thanks very much. Thanks for coming, and God bless you.
Thank you, Marv. Thank you. Let me introduce the Scout Executive of Philadelphia Council, Richard Marion.
Usually, they won't come up anymore. Put them up on the platform and I'll have to look up it. Hi, guys. This'll help. Thank you. One of the things that's traditional in scouting is to caution the scout executive that he is to make a very short talk. I have been well counseled. So I thought what I should say, and seeing the order of the program, and knowing that George would say it very well, and Marv would also, tried to think of something I could leave with you. If you go to the north end of this island, you'll pass a wooden plaque. And I don't know how many times you passed that plaque and how many times you stopped and read the words. And in my duties as scout executive and looking around the island and trying to keep the place developed and the way it should be, many times I've passed there, but I have stopped. And I want to share those words with you because I think they capture what this place is all about. They're written by Rufus T. Davis, who was an important leader in the late 20s in this camp. You hark alone to the water drone as you watch the stream out there. From whence it flows and whither it goes, you pause and wonder, where? There, etched in the shale, you'll find the trail of life before our kin. A million years in the roaming spheres, you look and wonder, when? The flock sails high through the trackless sky, through the mists and the moonlight blue, safe led by him. Through the shadows dim, you gaze and wonder, who? The streams that flow and the things that grow are stamped with the Maker's stamp. And you whisper a prayer to the one up there. You're nearer to God in camp. I think that says it all. I was asked to write a message for my successor that's going to be placed in the time capsule that we talked about at retreat tonight. So I think it's appropriate that I go back and ask one of my predecessors, a man that served this council well from 1961 to 1959. Our Scout Executive Emeritus, Mac Brevet. Mac, come on up here.
If I were to tell you all that is on my heart tonight, I'd be here and you'd be here for a long time, and I don't think you'd like it. But one thing I want to say very quickly, and that is to express my admiration, my appreciation, and any other superlative I can think of for the marvelous scouters in the Philadelphia Council. It was my privilege to know you for 19 years, and I don't think I ever saw a more dedicated group of people working for the youth of a city than I found in this council. I am absolutely awestruck when I walk around this camp today and shake hands with many friends, some that I know and remember, others who had to remind me of the days that we had together. But it's been a wonderful experience, and I want to tell you that my 75 years in scouting have been happy years, and 19 of the happiest were spent here in this council. I can't close without paying tribute to the man who was the founder of this camp and the Order of the Era, Unami Goodman. I met for the first time today his son, whom I did not know before, so I salute him, and I believe his sister's here with him also. Unami Goodman, some of you had the privilege of knowing him, others did not. He was one of the great founders of the Boy Scout movement in this country. He not only founded this camp and the Order of the Era, along with Carol Edson, whom I knew also as Scout Executive in Jersey City when I was in the North Hudson Council. But Unami Goodman was one of the founding spirits of the educational system of the Boy Scout movement. So you have many traditions in this camp to live up to. It was a fine place to be, and it's a fine place today. And as I see the spirit, and I watched that ceremony that I had watched many times before, my heart was filled with appreciation and love for you and for all of your predecessors back home who are not here today. And I thank you for all of those happy years, and blessings on you, and may God bless you. Thank you.
I'm going to ask a gentleman to join me now who has a very difficult job. His job is difficult because he's going to be asked to introduce to us a living legend. Would Roy Imsick please come forward? Roy was Lodge Chief in 1942 and served here in the camp staff from 24 through 37. He was a camper and staff member. Roy, can you come up and talk about Green Bar Bill?
That's both an easy job and a difficult job. I met Green Bar Bill first on Treasure Island, which is a good way to remember. But I've met him many times since. I think all scouts know Bill Hillcourt as Green Bar Bill for a number of reasons. One, he wrote the first Patrol Leader's Handbook. The first Patrol Leader's Handbook. Second, he wrote the Handbook for Scouting in '79 that turned the whole spirit of scouting around back where it should have been. That book is the one that you have now to operate from. Bill Hillcourt was a personal friend, and I guess an associate, we'd call him, of Baden-Powell. In fact, they were so close that after Baden-Powell had died, Lady Baden-Powell said that Bill Hillcourt was her husband in reincarnation. That's quite a compliment. I could say a lot of things that get going long, and I should not do it. Okay, Bill Hillcourt.
I told Bill I was going to give him something. I'll take it back, then he can be comfortable. Bill, this memento is given to you on the occasion of our 75th anniversary of Treasure Island as a token of the affection of the Scouts and Scouters of Philadelphia Council for a lifetime of service to boys. Thank you.